Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
We've been expecting you.
Monday, time for our maven of the supernatural, Denise Pridemore. This is the Paranormal Pride. Join to listen and chat live on WBHM-DB.com or Spreaker app. Search WBHM-DB every Monday at 7 p.m. Central for your supernatural paranormal fix. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride, where the show is about the guest and the listener.
Hello there. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Eric Perry. I had him on back in December of 2015. So he's returning so we could catch up on what's been happening since then and get you guys all hear what he has to say if you didn't get to hear him way back then. So if you guys have any questions at all, please put them in the chats and we will make sure that we get your questions asked and answered. And so this is going to be a great show, and we're going to not talk about any coronavirus. 000. So this is all going to be on the happy side of stuff. So welcome, Eric, to the Paranormal Pride. I'm glad to have you back.
Hey, I'm glad to be back.
So you mentioned in on LinkedIn that you have a book that you finished, and it's going to be going to print. Or did it go to print?
My new book, Bigfoot Myth or Legend, has gone to print. It is out on paperback, but has not been released yet on ebook.
Okay. And when will it be released for that?
It'll be released on the 8th of April for the ebook.
Oh, okay. So 2 more days.
Yep.
So that's perfect. So any of you out there that are into Bigfoot, you can check out his book on that. Because the last time I talked to you, you were getting ready to release the paranormal coloring book.
Yeah, I helped my girlfriend Shelley Brienza put out a book called Orville and the Orb. And it's a metaphysical coloring book which helps kids understand what orbs are.
Oh, like I said, I remembered something about it, just didn't remember everything about it. So, and since then, how many other books have you written?
Well, since 2013, I have written 7 books since 2013. 2020, I have written 5 and released 5.
That's a lot of books in a period of time.
Yes.
And let's see, and then you post something every day on LinkedIn. I see it every day.
Yes.
Is that from? I mean, it sounds a lot like one of the books that you wrote. One of your paranormal books. And
one of my books is doing really well. It's called The Haunting of Ransom Gore. It was based on a paranormal investigation that myself and my team members did in Bennington, Vermont, of an old farmhouse that dated back to the 1800s. And the gentleman that haunts the place happens to be part of the Battle of Gettysburg.
Okay.
and he haunts the place along with four other ghosts that haunt the place. We ran into a tarp that I was walking out, and I hit the tarp on the barn, couldn't move it, and I looked down, and there was feet there, and I thought someone was standing there. I moved the tarp, and no one was standing there.
That's interesting. Where at in Gettysburg was this?
This was actually taken. The gentleman was in the Battle of Gettysburg.
Okay.
Ransom O'Gore he started out as a private, ended up being on the battlefield. He was turned into a captain, and he spent 8 months in Gettysburg, and he brought all his troops home to Vermont. He didn't lose one.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I bet you they had a really good party when they got back. No.
Yeah, well, yeah, they kind of did. Yeah, well, Ransom was kind of a weird guy anyways. He was kind of born a little weird. He had black beard, black hair, but what made him stand out more than anything, he had solid black eyes.
Yeah, that would make him stand out.
Yeah, so everybody that looked at him kind of thought he was creepy. When he was in his 50s, he ended up getting married to a very young lady and having 2 children, and then she divorced him, and that's probably why he's pissed off.
Could be, because divorce back then wasn't common, and usually the woman didn't instigate it, the husband did.
Correct.
I mean, I only know of a handful of stories where the women got divorced before the 1930s, before they actually started saying, hey, I'm tired of this stuff, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So was there any stories about him being abusive to his wife or anything like that, or was it just what kind of history did you get about him at this place, or is this stuff you researched after you investigated?
We did a lot more. We dug into it a lot more after our investigation. We knew nothing of Ransom O'Gore when we first started. We didn't even know who he was. We ended up going to the Bennington Historical Museum and talked to those gentlemen and ladies there, and they gave us a lot of information about Ransom. And then I called down to the Gettysburg Battle Museum, and they gave me some more information on Mr. Gore. And then I ended up talking with former owners of the property, and they told me some stories that they had, which connected to Mr. Gore.
What would, okay, I don't want you to give away the book, but what was the most unusual fact about Ransom O'Gore besides the fact that he had black eyes?
One of the things that Mr. Gore, not a lot of people realize, that his mother, Mary Stoddard, was actually part of the Revolutionary War. His grandmother was part of the Revolutionary War. And they're the ones who made the town of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and Bennington, Vermont. Their families pretty much helped build towns right through Vermont and New England, pretty much.
Oh, well, that should make it really interesting, and people in your area should really be interested in that. Well, in New England should really be interested in purchasing that book to find out the history of it. Is the location where you investigated, is that open to the public?
It is not. We were investigating because the homeowner called us in to investigate the property because she had just lost her daughter to a fentanyl heroin overdose. And the daughter died in Boston, but she felt her daughter was still in the house. And in some ways, her daughter is still there, but in other ways, she is not. But we did, during our investigation, that's when we were like setting up our DVR system, and we had it all set up, and all of a sudden it blew up on us, and the lights went out in the house. We went down to the breaker box, and nothing was tripped or anything. And then the came back on. It blew our DVR system completely out. So we had some poltergeist activity that was actually going on in the house.
So it wasn't just her in the house. You found out that this guy was in the house as well as some other spirits as well. Ransom O'Gore was there. The daughter was in and out, and then there's some other spirits there.
Yeah, it was. We were down in the basement of the barn, and myself, I was in what they call the slaughter room, looking out a door. Another investigator was in the main part of the barn, looking down on the basement barn floor, looking out the same window I was, the doorway. And all of a sudden, we both watched a shadow block out the light that was in the doorway completely. And then we heard her say, "Get out," as loud as possible.
I mean, what else? Is there any other interesting things that happened at this location? Because so far, those make me go, maybe they should open this place up to the public. Or did you guys clear the location for them, or have someone go in and clear it?
We brought somebody in from the church, and they stepped one foot in the house and ran out the door. We tried to get a demonologist involved, and they decided to leave because they couldn't handle what was in the house. But it wasn't only the house that had issues. The barn had a lot of issues with child spirit. We had Mr. Gore actually shaking an 18-year-old kid's hand right in front of us during our live investigation. And we had caught it on SLS camera. You could actually see him reaching out to the kid and squeezing the kid's hand. We did the investigation when we started it, for day one. We noticed this large thing standing up at the tree line, swaying back and forth. We thought maybe it's just a bush or a tree, but then it moved, and then there was something smaller beside it, and it moved. We thought maybe a bear, but when we went up there, we could smell a very musty smell, and we thought maybe a moose, but then we found tracks stating other things.
Okay. That's apparently you guys needed a better demonologist, one that wasn't scared.
Yeah, we've gone through quite a bit, but we just had one of my members just went through complete training to be a demonologist. He's still in training a little bit, but he actually just became an ordained minister. He spent 2 years learning how to do things like clearings and stuff like that.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, it's always good to have that, because I saw that you have a rather large team. How many states are your teams in?
We have, as you know, we have all of New England, but we also just have the brand new team, Haunted in New York, which I am mentoring and teaching them how to do things. We have Haunted in Dixie, which is all the southern states. We have Haunted in Florida, Haunted in Colorado, and Haunted in California.
Wow, you've grown a lot since the last time we talked.
Yes.
So, wow. And all of these, are you filming? Like you were filming for Haunted in New England? Are all those states filming as well?
Yeah, they're all filming. They're starting to film. They're starting to go out on cases and doing more investigations with the public and getting the public involved. Haunted in New York has stepped up a lot since I started training them. Shelley Brianta happens to be the founder of the team, and she has taken everything I've taught her that I know, and she's made it 10 times better in her group. So it's good to see teams that are going to thrive.
It is, because just as many as that are coming in are breaking up these days.
Correct.
So, because some are getting bored with it. Some are just, hey, we're just done. We've had so many bad things happen. We're done. We're cursed, and things like that. I've heard a lot of that. Have you heard about the same things?
Yeah. There's a lot going on, but then you also hear the bad mouthing of other people in teams and stuff like that. I was talking to a very good friend of mine last night, and she was getting bad mouth from two people. I won't mention their names. Who did not believe in what they were doing and just decided to badmouth them all over the place. And I've been seeing that a lot lately, is team going after team because everyone's bored. No one's out investigating.
Well, I mean, people can still go out and do their exercise in a graveyard if they wanted to, or if it's available, there's some places that you can just go walk around, and there are haunted locations that you can at least be on the outside of,
right,
in certain areas.
Yeah, that's what Shelley and I have been doing. We've been talking about what we wanted to do, and one of the things we've been talking about is when I was up in New York, when I'm still here, but when I was near her, we would go out to the locations where historical markers are on the sides of the road, stuff like that, and see if we can capture anything. Well, we did that one day, and it was the Johnstown battlefield in New York. And I went, and we were driving, and we stopped, and I took 3 photos. And in 3 photos, you can actually see what appears to be a soldier going from left to right and then into the tree line.
Oh, I can see that. There's a place here. We live on the Potawatomi Trail of Death. Sounds happy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not related to the Trail of Tears, but it's similar. Indians left, the Potawatomi left Indiana, and their trail runs through through St. Louis, Kansas City, and down through where we live. I mean, I drove the Potawatomi Trail of Death to work every day. Made me really want to go there. And one day I saw a Native American with a travois and a couple others, and it was during a time when these people were digging up a pond. They were making a pond. So I'd never seen it before, but when they were digging that pond is when I saw them.
Wow.
And I've never seen it again. Since that pond filled up, I haven't seen it again. But it was one of those things that's really strange when you tell people about it. But, a lot of people go to the site in Parker, Kansas, where the trail ended. It's an empty field. But there have been people that have gone out there to investigate. And, I have no clue if they've ever gotten anything. I just know where the marker is because I went to something out there one time. But it's just one of those things that, will anybody ever see that again? Was I just driving by it at just the right time to see it? Or was it something meant for me to see?
Right.
So, but I don't know. I mean, we have a lot. Well, you being in New York, you probably have a lot of historic places to go. We have, a lot of the John Brown places that we can go, where he was, did something that he shouldn't have done. Or should have done, depending upon how you look at it. But when people die, you don't want to hear that. But you know what? We're going to take this time to take a break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Eric Perry in just a few minutes.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
To the believer, the evidence is overwhelming. To the skeptic, there will never be enough. Hello everyone. Join Kevin and Jennifer Malik, the host of Paraversal Universe, every Friday here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Also heard on WCET FM and The Rift. Log on or tune in as they check out the mysteries found within the 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, aliens and UFOs, theology and mythology, cryptids and monsters, urban legends and folklore, conspiracies, metaphysics, and forbidden archaeology. Listen as Kevin and Jennifer interview the top minds in their respective fields as they share theories and information regarding these unsolved mysteries. For future show and archive information, one can find Paraversal Universe on Facebook, Twitter, and MeWe under various Paraversal Universe headings. So, for excellent talk radio about the unknown and unexplained, check out Paraversal Universe, where all paranormal perspectives apply. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society, LTD, and produced by WBHM-DB.com.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Eric Perry from Haunted in New England, and apparently haunted everywhere else too. So, we were just talking about your the Ransom O'Gore and some of your locations, and some things to keep yourself busy. What are your plans for this year besides some more books? Because you said that you're taking this time to write some extra books on the break, people, when you weren't listening. That's what we talked about. What else are you planning on doing?
Well, right now we have events lined up for this summer. The Wildwood Sanitarium in New York and the Hinsdale House in New York.
Of course.
And the Old County Jail down in Rhode Island.
Huh. Well, if you're that far west, you might want to hit, west, you might want to hit the old Paulding Jail.
Yeah.
We know Kat knows the owner. She was just on Portals to Hell, the 2-hour episode for that. Yeah. And so it's not that far away. I mean, no. Pennsylvania to Ohio, it's not that far.
No, it's not.
But yeah, you might want to check that out. Add that to your list of places. But yeah, I love Daniel Class. He's a classy guy. He does a good job of presenting for the Hinsdale House and the Wildwood Sanitarium. He does a very good job. In fact, we're supposed to be at an event together in July.
Mm-hmm. But everything's up right now, so.
Well, it depends on when things slow down for everybody. But like I said, right now, I'm still planning on going in July because I'm only limited to 2 paranormal conferences a year. So, it may be July might be the first one. Did you book yourself? Did you guys get booked for any paranormal conferences this year?
No, we didn't. We were going to do one last year. And then we decided it was too close to Halloween. People were already doing stuff. Why do it? So a lot of people weren't going to do it. So we ended up not doing it. This year, we're not booking anything. We're actually going to be doing stuff, I think, in New York. My team member, Elizabeth Angel, she has, I don't know if anybody's seen Counting Cars, but she has the paranormal ambulance.
Oh.
Built on Counting Cars. So she's going to have that there. We're going to be there. And so it's being changed over from the old team's name that's on it to Haunted in New England.
Oh, okay. Because we saw that Counting Cars.
Yes.
And we've actually been to Danny's shop. And and a heads up, people may not know this, but Danny's shop is haunted.
Yes.
Not the shop where he works, the shop where they show all the cars and stuff, where his office is. So we went through there, and it was interesting. I liked all the purple cars. Just saying.
Yeah.
His shop is a free tour.
Yeah.
So it's a neat place. I probably took 100 pictures at least in there. We try to do all the fun free stuff in Vegas. So no Zach Bagans museum unless I can get in for free. And maybe not even then.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Other than I want to know if my bear is in there. But other than that, that's a whole different story. But well, yeah, I told you that, didn't I? That it was taken from the Sally house.
I believe so.
Yeah, the bear moved, and lo and behold, it was taken. I was like, that's crap. But
You know who probably took.
Oh, I know. At first I thought it was Aaron, because Aaron takes a rock from every place that he goes. But no, if I had known somebody was trying to build a museum, I'd have said something a long time ago to him directly when I met him. But that's a whole different ball game.
Right.
But yeah, I remember seeing that episode, and with the paranormal ambulance, and been out there to where they delivered it to him at the Pioneer Saloon. We got pictures of my granddaughter dancing out there. We've been out there a couple times. It's a really neat place. They also store liquor out there in barrels. So they go through all the extremes. Like I said, it's a really neat place to go. So I know Kat's been out there as well, but it's an interesting location. But I thought they did a great job on that ambulance. So how did you get them to change? Did you guys buy it?
No, Elizabeth Angel, who owns it, she and the guy that's in the video parted ways.
Mm-hmm.
And she's always wanted to work with me, so we started talking. And I made her my co-founder for Haunted in New England. And we've been traveling the roads, her and I, ever since, doing paranormal investigations. She was actually trained by Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but she must have been one of the final few.
Yes. Yeah. She knew the Warrens when she was a kid.
Oh, I said that's amazing. I mean, I wish I could have met them. A good friend of mine, well, a friend that became a good friend of mine, was very close to Lorraine. Knew her very, very well. So, but it'll be interesting, glad that you guys are going to have that repainted on that. I don't think there was very many spots where they actually put the name. Wasn't it just on the ambulance side, or was it on the door? I don't remember.
It was on the door and on the hood.
Okay. So not too much. I mean, they're hopefully a good shop will be able to match up with what Ryan did to the car. Oh, Ryan is the painter guy on Counting Cars, everyone. He's an amazing artist.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, strange thing. We were in Vegas waiting for our daughter to say, come on over. And we were watching TV in our hotel room, and that's the show we found. I said, oh, that's right here in Vegas. And my husband goes, yeah, it is. So we never watched it until we happened to catch it on TV in Vegas one time. And now we've watched probably every episode.
Same here.
So it's odd. I like Danny. We want to go to Vamps, to his restaurant.
There you go.
So we haven't made it to there yet. We've been out there so often, it seems like we always hit some other place. I don't know. But if anybody needs any advice on places to eat in Vegas, let me know. I'll tell you. So, and the free stuff I can tell you all about. Now, my daughter, on the other hand, can tell you about the shows. But I don't know. Have you had so you where have you okay in the last 4 years you've had to have gone some places. I know that you went, you've moved around a little bit. So what are some of the key places that you've been since the last time I talked to you?
We did a case up in Vermont, up near the Canadian border, at a hotel that turned out to be a demonic entity, which left a demonologist with a bloody face. We've been up there. We've been to the Wildwood. Checked that out. Had great conversations with Dr. Perry of the Wildwood. Let's see, where else did we go? We did a lot of private homes, all over New England. So that made it more interesting. This year alone, I've been to battlefields. I've been to an old county home. I've been to a mansion area. Checked out a mansion just the other day. Stopped by a historical mansion called the Knox Mansion in Johnstown, New York, which is very notoriously haunted. And Shelley just released a book called The Old Knox Mansion, Haunted in New York. The book tells about she talked to me about it, it's got a secret room. When you go into the secret room, you have to crawl through this cubby space, and you crawl all the way to the crawl space, and it comes into this big room, wide open room. It's a secret room that's built into the place, and it's very haunted.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. You've also been on Travel Channel a few times.
Yes, Travel Channel. I've been on Haunted Hospitals. The episode called Get Out, which I've gotten notices from Travel Channel saying that was one of their highest watch episodes. The ghost nurse still freaks people out. Yeah. I have friends that will watch it with me, and my friend Kelly and her husband Mike will sit there and we'll start watching it. And Kelly would hide her face every time the ghost nurse would come into the room.
Oh, wow.
And that happened to be at a place called Brattleboro Retreat in Vermont. I'm the only investigator that's ever gotten to investigate in that place. It's a working facility. And the building was known as the Ripley Building. And down in the basement was the old school for the old asylum for the kids. They built the new buildings on top of the old buildings. And down there you had paintings on the wall. You heard mommy. You heard different growls and stuff like that. And then I got tossed across the room by something down there and ended up getting out of there.
Wow. I think I saw that on Haunted Hospitals.
Yeah, that was just this year. Matter of fact, it was just released this year.
And you weren't you on Paranormal 911?
Yeah, Paranormal 911. I should be on in May. It is about myself as a security guard, as a security / first responder for a nursing home in Concord, New Hampshire, that happened to be an old nurses' school.
Yeah.
And there's a tunnel that goes from there to the local asylum. And it kind of turned dark with what they call a crawler down in the basement. We had to call in priests to actually do an exorcism on the place.
Wow. I can't wait to see that one. I'll have to set that up to tape again because I stopped taping it because I got a little bit, I didn't care for it.
Yeah, Paranormal 911 is actually, this season supposed to be the scariest of all seasons that they put out. This is the second season, and I was honored enough to be part of it. And I got to work with some, like David Chillers. I got to work with him and some other ones that I worked with during my time with the Travel Channel.
Yeah, David used to be on the network that I used to be on at one time, and very nice guy. So,
Yeah, I just saw him on Ghost Asylum last night.
see, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he was on second episode of season 1.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I was like, I didn't watch that last night. I forgot that it was a rerun. But yeah, we were, like I said, he was just a very friendly guy. I liked talking to him. So,
Yeah, we all met in Buffalo, New York, and we all hung out.
well, that's what I like to hear, that, people are hanging out and enjoying, well, were then enjoying themselves, and, none of that paranormal drama that you were talking about earlier.
Right. We had a good time. When I got there, he was just leaving for the airport, but we got to hang out for a couple hours before he left. And then I got to talk to some of the other ones who were there. Tanya McCoy, she was there. And Max Liard, or something like that, his last name is. And they, Max and I went to the bar and we had a couple drinks and just sat there and swap ghost stories.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. I mean, I love hearing everybody else's ghost stories. That's why I do this. I want to hear them. And of course, then I want to forget them in case I ever go to that place. That's one of the things. I just don't like to know about any place before I go to it. But we do have a question for you from Carl in our chat. He asks, what equipment do you like to use when you investigate?
I love the SLS camera. But I usually like, I've been trying to experiment with a couple of apps lately. And one of them that I got is called ITC Box 2. Mm-hmm. And I hitched that up to an amplifier that has lights, and it has echo on it. And so I use the app, and I put it out there. And I've gotten some amazing responses just using that little app called ITC Box 2. And I just love it. But with my regular equipment, it's usually my SLS camera, my digital recorder, and K2 meter and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've noticed that there's some investigators that really enjoy their K2s and Mel meters.
Yes.
Some of them use them a lot.
Yes, because some of the Mel meters, there's different models of the Mel meter, which not a lot of people understand. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of different ways with the Mel meter, from the original one to the newest one that has a REM pod built into it. They keep changing, and they do. And they keep getting more expensive.
Yes, they do. Ours tells electromagnetic. When it breaks an electromagnetic field, it also tells when it goes up or down temperature, and it lights up on different things. But don't hardly use it because it sucks through the battery so fast because it uses a 9-volt.
REM pods do the same thing.
Well, you wouldn't think that something that uses a 9-volt battery would go through that fast.
Right.
Right. AAA's, it whizzes through them. AA's not so much, not as fast, but I have never seen anything eat batteries like these things that use transistor radio batteries. Or for other people. Go ahead.
Well, it's kind of weird because when we did the Border Motel, we had our SLS camera with us, and Jared was using it and he was holding it, and all of a sudden, as he started filming this demonic entity that was there, ended up, the camera just went dead, drained out completely, and it was fully charged.
That always astounds me when that happens, because we spend all night making sure everything's charged. We pack it up, we get there, and we take it out of the bag, and as soon as we turn it on, some entity has to drain it.
Right.
So, actually, you know what I do? I have some of these chargers for my cell phone that I sit around for them to be able to drain, because they won't work on my cell phone anymore. I don't know why, but they're still charged and everything else. So I just bring them out and turn them on and say, okay, you want a battery? Here you go. So that's how I'm fighting that these days, with a rechargeable battery for them to go and suck on all they want.
We usually put out like an extra battery, a couple batteries or something like that, and let them play with those.
Yep. So that's what I ended up doing. I just thought that it made more sense. I was bringing them with me anyway, so might as well use them. But yeah, Kat says in the chat room, you'd think that they'd build meters with rechargeable lithium batteries.
Right.
Yeah,
like a cell phone.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that much harder, but and maybe they have a contract with some of the battery companies. Who knows? Or they have stock in Everready.
Right. Yeah, and then there's the other piece of equipment that I love that doesn't drain as fast, and that's the data loggers.
Yeah, that EDI, the EDI meters, right?
Yeah,
yep.
Those do not drain out fast at all because they have that protective barrier around them.
Right. I've seen one of those in action, but you know what? We're going to take our next break. Everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Eric in just a few minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. Back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore. I hope everybody's having a great time with Eric Perry here tonight. And I have some more questions for you from the chat. And this question is also from Carl, and he asks, what's your best evidence using the SLS camera?
Capturing Ransom O'Gore on SLS camera, a full figure apparition, without using sticks.
All right. And how did he look? I mean, how can you describe it?
Yeah, you can make out his hair, you can make out his ears, you can make out his beard, and you can make out his eyes. He was coming around the corner of his bedroom up on the second floor, and we were coming up the stairs with the camera, and as I turned, I got him right there and there with the camera. And then he went back in the room and disappeared.
Oh, wow. And then the next question is have you ever tried dowsing rods?
Yes, I have tried dowsing rods. Matter of fact, I love using them. They are an essential tool, I would say, in any paranormal arsenal, next to pendulums and dowsing rods. And, you got to go back sometimes to the older stuff to get responses more than the newer stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. I know I have a collection of dowsing rods, but I like them. I think they're fun, and I think that they can sometimes produce some pretty good evidence as long as you're an honest individual.
Yeah. Yes.
And
I've seen people move the dowsing rods with their fingers, their thumbs and stuff. I've seen it happen. When I've gone on investigations with Haunted in New York and Haunted in New England, I've used dowsing rods at locations and gotten some really great responses through EVPs also during it.
I'd say when we used to do tours, we used to bring our dowsing rods with us, multiple sets, which is why I have a collection. But I would bring multiple sets and let people use them throughout the house that we were doing tours in. And, I would show them how to use them. And then when they got their own evidence, you never saw people so excited in their lives.
Right.
But it was a big deal to teach people something, something they could leave, a skill they could leave with. It's a $10 tour. Well, they left with an experience and knowledge on how to do this. I don't know how many people probably went home and cut up coat hangers to make up their own.
Well, that was the weird thing is we did 3 investigations, 2 nights and 1 day at Ransom Gore, and then the 4th time that we went up, we brought the public with us to actually experience what was going on there. So they knew that we weren't making this up. And we had a good crowd. It was a rainy day. It started raining, downpouring, thunder, lightning, the whole thing rained. And I'm waiting for people to drive up. So I grabbed my Haunted in New England tablecloth and I put it over me while I was waiting for the people to come up the driveway. Well, there was a couple that was coming and they saw me and thought I looked like the nun. And they turned their car around real fast and took off because they saw me standing there looking like a nun. And then when the other people arrived, they started going through the house. And there was one lady who got really sick from it. After the spirit touched her. Then one of my investigators actually got strangled during that time. We watched Ransom Gore shake hands, all that kind of stuff during that time. And when we brought the public into Ransom Gore's house and they got to experience, everybody left with an experience. Everybody left with something that was going on. They were so shocked at what was really going on.
I mean, but isn't it great though when you can show somebody else this and then they can go and not really repeat it, but get their own feeling for it, and no matter what it is. I mean, especially in the paranormal, that they can leave and have their own experience, or at least know that they can maybe replicate what you taught them in another place.
Right. And they did. And there was an investigator there who actually has done investigating before, and he was just shocked and amazed on what actually was going on there. So he was just flabbergasted about the activity, the scale of the activity that was in the home.
I bet they were. They knew that they were having some activity in the home. They just didn't know exactly what was causing it.
Right. And the thing was, her husband was dying of cancer at the time. And during our investigations and stuff like that, we suggested that they cover the mirror that was in the bedroom so nothing comes through during that time while he's trying to rest and relax. And he ended up just dying last year. He passed away to cancer. So no one's been, the homeowner now, she hasn't really been there. She's been down in Rhode Island or Connecticut with her family, and she hasn't been at the house. So the house is still hers. There's still stuff in the house that's still theirs, but they just have it. She's not there right now.
How often do you investigate?
Before all this stuff started happening, we were doing it every weekend. We get messages. Our website gets checked out daily. Facebook gets checked out daily. I get people send me messages. Eric, you need to come out here and check this house out. We got some stuff going on. So I get asked all kinds of, through Facebook Messenger. I get emails daily from people all over the country saying, Eric, you need to come here. We need you. I'm like, okay, well, let me see what I can do, and we'll go from there.
What's the furthest you've gone to investigate?
South Carolina.
Okay. Was that a private residence, or was that?
Yeah, it was a private residence.
Place?
No, it was a private residence. It happened to be a soldier, Civil War soldier, that was haunting the home. The lady she was sleeping at night, and her sheets were being pulled off. There was handprints on her, different things that were going on. She said she could feel something like touching her stomach and working his hands up, stuff like that. And he was standing there. He was in full military gear, and he was hiding and it was really weird. When we started our investigation, you could hear dogs barking, but there was no dogs anywhere near this. This is an isolated area. There was dogs barking. And then you heard a door slam, and you can hear the dogs scratching at the door. We go to look at the door, and there's no dogs there.
Wow.
So he was being chased by dogs of war, pretty much.
That's not good.
No.
Are dogs of war like hellhounds?
I wouldn't say these were more. I would say in a way yes, in a way no, because these dogs were trained at the time to hunt Union soldiers down south.
How could they tell the difference between a Union soldier and a Confederate soldier?
They were the uniform colors.
Oh.
Some strange
dogs
reason.
are colorblind.
Oh, I agree with you on that. But the way I was told from somebody that they do recognize different shapes and size and things. So knowing the hats, knowing the stuff like that, the hats from the from South and from the North were different. Mm-hmm. Uniform different. They were able to tell by different things. And if they were being handled by a dog handler during the war, and he would say he would release them and have them go after the soldiers.
I would have thought because some of the ones in the South were malnourished, could tell by the skinny ones. I don't mean that negatively. It's just based on the facts. It's said that a lot in the history that, especially in the South, the soldiers weren't fed as well, especially near the end of the war.
Correct. That is correct. But they had dog handlers. The South had, they loved their hounds.
Mm-hmm.
They loved their hounds in the South. So they were using hounds and other bigger dogs to hunt down soldiers when they were out on patrol. It's just like in Bennington, Vermont, I found out that they used, and I know I'm going to get some criticism on this, is that they used vampires to treat tuberculosis in Vermont.
Vampires?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how?
Vampires would drain the blood of the person, and then they would put fresh blood back into the person.
Oh, so they would bleed them?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So, not necessarily a vampire, but could be considered that.
It's actually, I actually did an article about it, vampires in Bennington. And it turned out to be, after I talked to some museum people, it turned out to be true.
That just doesn't sound normal.
No, because New England is known to have vampires at certain time periods. And there is actually a famous one buried in Connecticut, to be exact.
Okay, well, learned something else new today. So that's good. A lot of things are I just can't believe. Not that I don't believe it, I just can't believe it, because if it's real, then I got to acknowledge it, and I don't want to acknowledge some things. It's not
It's
being
just
closed-minded.
Right, but witches were all over the country, not just in Salem, but Salem is known as the witch capital.
Because it got all the attention. That doesn't necessarily mean they had the most.
Correct. Like the book I did called The Haunting of High Rock Tower, we dealt with the witch called Moll Pitcher, who haunted the Stone Cottage and ended up scratching a 400-pound MMA fighter with 3 marks across his arm and made it bleed.
Wow. I've been attacked by spirits before. And I have been made to bleed by spirits. So that I believe, regardless of what anybody else says, I know what has happened to me, and having folding chairs thrown across the room at me, it was enough to make me go, Being touched was a whole other thing.
Right.
Then I got scratched. It was like, no, this isn't good.
For me, being tossed 25 feet at Pennhurst Asylum was enough. That place, if you ever get a chance to investigate Pennhurst Asylum, do it.
Oh, I will.
It is truly one of the most haunted locations in the world, and the things that are there are just tremendously haunted. The place, you got the Candyland that's there. You go down there and you got children and different spirits. Myself and a security officer watched a shadow figure go from room to room with a night vision camera.
Oh, wow.
So the place is truly haunted. That is definitely, Pennhurst Asylum is definitely one of my favorite haunted locations.
I remember something about that being on the news back when I was much younger. And yes, I can't remember exactly what it was. I know that Litchfield was done by, little guy. I don't think he'd like to have heard that. But yeah, Geraldo Rivera.
Yep.
So,
this one here, Pennhurst Asylum, is where they put children,
right?
And would let the children just die and decay. They wouldn't even change them. They wouldn't even feed them. And the news did a report on it called, and I think it's called "The Day the Children Die" or something like that. And the scenes that were in there, kids shackled to beds, kids being raped by other kids, adults raping kids, all kinds of different things that were going on in there.
Yeah, there was a lot. But you know what? We're at the top of the hour. We got to take a break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We will be back after this news break. And I'd say, instead of listening to the news, go get yourself a drink and come on back.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. As the death toll from the coronavirus pandemic continues to mount, New York City funeral homes and cemeteries are unable to keep up. NPR's Greg Allen reports officials say the city may have to temporarily inter some of the dead in a public park.
80 refrigerated trailers big enough to hold 100 bodies each have been deployed to hospitals throughout New York City. Some hospitals now have added a second and even a third trailer, holding remains of people who died from COVID-19 or other causes. New York City Councilman Mark Levine says if the death toll doesn't soon level off, the city will likely start doing temporary interment, digging trenches in a city park where caskets will be buried.
It would be done in a way that allowed these bodies then to be disinterred and given a proper burial at such time as the crisis is over and our normal cemetery system and funeral home system is running again.
Levine says the Defense Department has sent mortuary specialists to New York City, but that more help is needed. Greg Allen, NPR News.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been moved into an intensive care unit today after symptoms of COVID-19 worsened. That's according to his Downing Street office, which says Johnson was admitted to St. Thomas's Hospital over the weekend. The British Prime Minister first announced he was suffering from the disease caused by the coronavirus 10 days ago and initially been continuing to run the country from his residence, but has now asked the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab be deputized for him. Britain has no formal succession plan should the Prime Minister become incapacitated. The 55-year-old Johnson tested positive for the virus on March 26. South Carolina's governor is ordering residents of that state to stay home with few exceptions. As NPR's Sarah McCammon explained, South Carolina had been among a dwindling number of states without stay-at-home orders.
Governors are under pressure from medical groups and federal officials, including Dr. Anthony Fauci, to order their residents to stay home in an effort to reduce the spread of the coronavirus. A handful of Republican governors have been holdouts, but now South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster says infections are rising and now is the time.
Too many people are on the roads, too many people are on the waters, too many people are in the stores, too many people are not complying with our requests concerning social distancing.
Exceptions include work, outdoor exercise, or obtaining necessary goods and services. Violating South Carolina's stay-home order can be punished with fines or jail time. Sarah McCammon, NPR News.
The interest rate-setting Federal Reserve is announcing plans to create a new program to finance loans that banks and other lenders make through the government's Emergency Small Business Lending Program. Banks began taking loan applications Friday. Those loans will come with a 1% interest rate and are aimed at keeping employees on the payroll for 8 weeks. Stocks gained ground on Wall Street today. The Dow was up more than 1,600 points. You're listening to NPR. The nation's highest court has ruled police can pull over a car when they know only its owner's license is invalid, even if they do not know who is behind the wheel. The court noting it's reasonable for police to think the car's owner would be driving. The ruling reverses a Kansas Supreme Court decision that found police violated a driver's constitutional rights when they stopped his pickup based only on information that the owner's license had been revoked. Actress Honor Blackman, who played Pussy Galore in the James Bond movie Goldfinger, has died at the age of 94. According to her family, she died of natural causes at her home in Sussex, England. NPR's Elizabeth Blair has this remembrance.
Sexy, blonde, with piercing blue eyes, Pussy Galore is a pilot working for the evil Goldfinger. She's also a judo expert. With a flick of her wrist, she flips Bond on his back.
You've asked for this.
Honor Blackman was gorgeous and tough. In London during World War II, she learned how to ride a motorcycle to be a volunteer messenger. To play a fashionable crime fighter in the TV series The Avengers, she learned judo. She appeared in dozens of movies and TV shows over the years and kept up her martial arts. She also co-wrote a self-defense book for women. Elizabeth Blair, NPR News.
Japanese car company Honda says it will extend its auto production shutdown in the U.S. and Canada through May 1st. The company saying in many cases consumers are unable to purchase vehicles, and as a result, the automaker needs to suspend production to align product supply with lack of market demand. Honda halted its auto production in the U.S. and Canada on March 23rd. I'm Jack Speer, NPR News, in Washington.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and we're back with Eric Perry from Haunted in New England. He's also an author and also has been on a couple shows on Travel Channel, so you may have seen him. And we're going to continue talking about all kinds of other things that pops into my head, or if you guys have a question to ask Eric, I will ask it. And so when we left, we were talking about vampires in Vermont. No, yeah, it was Vermont, right?
Correct.
And what other strange beings, entities, cryptids are in your area, in the area of New England?
Well, I just last year, 2019, I became a member of SFRT, which is Sasquatch Files Research Team. And I became the vice president after a month of being on the team. And we go out and we do Bigfoot investigations throughout the New England. I pretty much handle all of New England. And it's based out of Colorado. It's a worldwide thing. And we've come across, how can I put it? We've come across Bigfoot at least twice. I have in my career. Once at Madame Sherry's Castle in Chesterfield, New Hampshire. We actually got a footprint from it. And then Parsonsfield, Maine in 2013 at the Parsonsfield Seminary. We came across a creature also, actually two of them during that time.
Wow. And I know that the Bridgewater Triangle is up in your area.
Correct.
Have you investigated anything within there?
No, but I've been doing the Bennington Triangle, which is Bennington, Vermont, Troy, New York, and North Adams, Massachusetts. It's called the Bennington Triangle. There's a ghost town that's there called Glastonbury, Vermont, and the town is gone. But the story goes as this: if you wear red, you disappear up there. People have reported ghosts. People have reported Bigfoot. People have reported UFOs in the area. People have gone missing. Bodies, after I've talked to the local fire department in Bennington, bodies have washed down the river down into the town, and they've had to fish bodies out from there, from that town up there in Glastonbury. And it's just got so much different things, everything from Bigfoot and stuff like that.
Wow. I know that there is in North Adams, I believe, in Adams, Massachusetts, I know that there is a noted haunted residence there. I forgot the name of it.
It would be called the Haunted Mansion, and I've investigated it 4 times. And it's no longer open to the public anymore.
That's what I heard.
They closed it. A well-known paranormal investigator bought the property.
And is the investigator using it for their own research or living there? Or
we're really not sure. Who owns it is been kept hush hush. But the weird thing is, where the mansion is, there's a whole bunch of other mansions, and they're all vacant now. So he's buying up the historical mansions along that road. So it's making me think that maybe it's Zach.
Well, they did a show there, didn't they?
They have. So has in Ghost Hunters.
Could it possibly be, hey, this guy bought this place and now other people are buying up these mansions and they're trying to refurb them, or maybe buying them up so they can tear them down and put something else up?
No, these are all Victorian mansions that are right on the same road, and and you see people living in it. Next day they're empty, so someone's buying it up. And it was in the paper that somebody some paranormal celebrity was buying up property.
Well, that should be easy enough to find out.
Well, I thought so too. 2018, 2019, still can't find it. They're keeping their mouth shut. I went to City Hall. They won't tell you anything who owns it. And I had a friend of mine who works for New Hampshire government, and she has access to deeds and stuff like that, and she could not get any information.
That's, I bet you, it's one of those things where you just don't know which way to go with that. If it is someone well known, or if it's just somebody just wants it to be kept secret because they don't want it to be reopened or anything like that.
Correct.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out who really did buy it. Correct. So, but how about about the house in Gardner, Massachusetts, right?
Yeah, that would be the Haunted Victorian Mansion. I've investigated it 12 times, and the last time I investigated it, a cameraman was tossed over the third floor railing down a flight of stairs.
Like I said, I know that one's been on. It was on A Haunting. It was on My Ghost Story. Yeah, it was on a lot of different shows.
Yeah,
and it's a really neat place to go and to be able to check out. And I remember watching it and going, after I'd already seen it before on A Haunting. They had it on another show, but they didn't say what it was called. Okay. So it had to be some show that had a reenactment. And as soon as they started talking about it, it's like, I know that house. And so there you go. It was one of those ones that it stuck out in my mind, because I've never been north of New York. I mean, New York City is about as north as I've been.
Joni Mayhem actually wrote a book called Bones in the Basement. It's about the Victorian Mansion. I've written about the Victorian Mansion in a few of my books. But yeah, it is truly one of New England's most haunted locations, and people are just loving the place. They've taken it from looking drab and dreary. They've refurnished everything in the place. They've redone the floors, the walls, the ceilings, the roof, the heating, everything. They've redone a lot.
I just know that it was I saw the house and I was like, I'd love to live there. And I could see where the people who did buy it, when they did the haunting, how they could have fallen in love with that house.
Yeah. And the story goes is, that something possessed the owners, Ed and Lillian to be exact, that something possessed her in the home. During the last time I investigated, the 12th time I investigated, we were down in the dining room, myself and my friend Rodney and a few other investigators, Eric Parquette, Charles Cameron, and some other ones. And we were all filming, and we watched a shadow of a child go from left to right in the hallway, climbing up the stairs. Next thing you know, we hear, boom. And then someone got on the radio and said, John has just been thrown over the railing. He's down the flight of stairs with the camera. We all run upstairs. And he did come down from the third floor with the camera. He was tossed over the railing. He ended up with bruises and marks and some contusions and stuff. And we ended up getting him out of the building. And then not even 2 months later, he ended up having a stroke.
That I can see that. That's happened at quite a few extremely haunted locations.
Yeah.
So not, it doesn't surprise me, but it's still surprising.
I had an investigator that I did when I first started out. And we were at a place called the Director's Home, and she called this ghost Buttercup. She ended up with 3 scratch marks across her face. she went home, and 2 months later, she ended up having a stroke.
Once you've been marked, you can look forward to a lot of illnesses.
Yep.
I'm witness to that myself, because I've been marked multiple times and ever since then I've had multiple illnesses that are odd.
Right.
I mean, extremely odd. So you've been marked, and so what are some of the illnesses that you believe that could be related to the paranormal? That you're willing to share anyway.
I ended up when I was at Eagle Mountain House, I ended up getting possessed at Eagle Mountain House in Jackson, New Hampshire, and after that, I ended up with after that one, I ended up with major case of bronchitis from doing that investigation after that, because that next night I had the spirit come and visit me and held onto my lungs and whipped me with a belt in my sleep. That one was interesting. So I ended up with bronchitis on that one, and a very bad case that I ended up needing all kinds of medications and stuff for it. Then the other ones were not as bad. I ended up with scratches and bruises and some bite marks and things like that from different spirits. But Eagle Mountain House, every February, February 12th, I remember, everything that he did. Everything. So I have that memory every year. I seen what he does to his kids. I see how he was to his wife, how his wife was to him. I see it all.
That's sad. I will tell you, Ron had bronchitis for probably a year, and we believe it was related to the Sally House. I mean, it was bad enough to where I took him to the hospital. Was it twice I took you to the hospital? Yeah. And he just he wasn't recovering from it. And it was right before all the stuff with my lungs and collapsed lung and all that other stuff back in 2019. So he had that in 2016, and then 2018 is when I had the collapsed lung and all that stuff that went along with that.
Wow.
So it was one thing after another. And mine, the doctor said, was due to long-term mold exposure. I have no mold in my house. The only place that we went to that had a lot of mold was the Sally House. And Ron, too, he was in the basement the bulk of the time, and that's where it was moist and moldy.
Right.
So, but again, was it spirit related or was it just haunted location related?
Right. You got to think. You got to kind of debunk it a little bit.
Because when people ask me, well, how did you get all sick? I just tell them it was long-term mold exposure. It wasn't paranormal. It was due to a paranormal location, but not paranormal. And guess what? We're at our next break already. And so, everybody, you're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back with Eric in just a moment. But if you have any questions, please put those into the chats, and I will make sure I ask those questions to him. So you guys come on back.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a programmed to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us, and we're talking about them here, looking for answers on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and my guest tonight is Eric Perry. So I am going to ask you another question before we get started on some other things. Is there any place you will not go back to because of heavy activity?
That would probably be Eagle Mountain House because of what the gentleman ended up doing to me at Eagle Mountain House up in Jackson, New Hampshire. That is definitely one place I'll never return.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you some other questions related to your books. Which book was your favorite to write?
Well, when I first started, my first book, True Hauntings of New England, it was a great book, but it wasn't edited right. So it kind of flopped for me, but it was a good book to write because it had a lot of history. And I've met people that have actually bought the book, and they just love the history part of it. But my favorite book of all for writing right now would have to be The Haunting of Ransom O'Gore.
Why is that?
Because it was still fresh in my mind from the investigation in 2019. It was still fresh in my mind. I can remember every little detail that we did during that investigation, the activity, the photographs, the EVPs. I still listen to them almost on a daily basis. It's just the book jumps out at you. It's like taking a virtual tour during our investigation. You're like right there with us as we're doing the investigation.
I can see that because there's a lot of, I can see that in a lot of your stuff. So, because I know that you're really deep into that history part, if somebody really, out of all your books, which book would give people the best information just starting out?
To start out, if they wanted a book just to read, I would definitely say start out with, because you can learn a lot from reading The Haunting of Ransom O'Gore or The Haunting of High Rock Tower. because they both delve into how we handle investigations and how a proper investigation should be handled with the history and with everything else that has to go with it. With the haunting of Ransom Gore, just recently kind of made some really good things with stuff like that.
Okay. And then your latest book about Bigfoot, is that your first book that's dedicated to cryptozoology?
Yes, that is the very first book that's dedicated to cryptozoology. None of my other books have anything else that has to do with cryptozoology. It has to do with more of the Bigfoot legend, with Bigfoot myth or legend. It has to do more of the history of Bigfoot, from the Native Americans to some of the other ones that are out there.
How often do you hunt Bigfoot or look for Bigfoot? Not really hunt, look.
Well, yeah, a lot of people say, oh, you're going hunting for Bigfoot. No, you're not hunting. You're researching. You're going out like you would do a paranormal investigation. You're actually researching about ghosts.
That's what we tell people. We're investigating to see if it really does act up for us. We have another question for you in the chat from Kat. She asks, what is the location that you felt got out of control the fastest, and could you control it?
I would say the one that got out of control the fastest would definitely have to be Pennhurst Asylum. And there is no way you can control Pennhurst. It controls you.
I can see that. You know, just the history of the place alone, I could see that. Like I said, I know somebody did a documentary on it on the news when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, you could find it right on
before
YouTube.
It was closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know somebody did. I don't know who it was. And when I lived in New Jersey, which technically not that far away when you think about it. But yeah, I mean, I remember seeing something on our black and white TV about Pennhurst. So it stuck with me back then that it wasn't a good. I mean, like I said, I do remember the one Letchfield Village. I remember when that one was done by Geraldo Rivera all those years ago as well. But I remember Pennhurst sticking out in my mind as, you know, like, this is kiddie jail. This is someplace you want to be good so your parents don't send you here. You know, not knowing back then that your parents just couldn't send you there. You had to be sent there by a physician, but when you're a kid, you don't think about it that way. So, but when you talked about Pennhurst getting out of control the fastest, could you control it?
No, you can't control Pennhurst. There's no way, no shape, no form that you'll ever control Pennhurst. Pennhurst will chew you out and chew you up and spit you out right there and there.
Okay, now I'm going to ask the question that gets asked on every show, no matter what, besides equipment. Do you have a bucket list location that you want to go to?
Well, let's see. Ashmore Estate is one of them.
Been there. Got some history for you there.
I actually had a premonition or a dream of some type during about Ashmore Estate, and it went like this. I was investigating the property, and a spirit came, lifted me up, and snapped my neck at the Ashmore Estate. Well,
speaking about Ashmore Estates, you need to listen on Wednesday night on WBHM-DB.com to hear Kat interview Robin Terry, who owns Ashmore Estates.
Oh, okay. I definitely will, because that dream, I have that recurring dream. That is one of the dreams that I have recurring all the time, is if I visit there, that's where I'm going to die. But my bucket list is when I retire, the last place is the first place I started. which was Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Yeah.
And that'll be my last place that I investigate because it was the first place I investigated. So it's going to be, I don't know. I got so many different ones I want to go to, but Rolling Hills Asylum's on my bucket list. I want to go back to St. Albans. It's still on my bucket list. I've been there once.
Yeah, it's on my list to go there. It's not that far from where my mom used to live.
Yeah, so that's another one. I want to go back to Fort Knox, Maine, up there to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's on my list. I think one of the ones I really, really want to do is actually, it's not even a ghost hunt or paranormal investigation. It's actually go out to Bluff Creek. Is on my top of my bucket list. It's Bluff Creek, California, where the Patterson Gimlin film was filmed for Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. I told Ron, I said someday I'd like to go up on Donner Pass, not because I'm really into the diet that they had, but because I just thought it was kind of an unusual place. But you really can't get to some of the places up there because it's covered in snow most of the year.
Right.
So,
well, it's like the Appalachian Trails. I had a friend of mine do some research, and she gave me Bigfoot information that people have seen Bigfoot on the Appalachian Trail. But she also gave me a list of deaths that have happened on the Appalachian Trail.
some of those people have never been found.
Correct.
I actually have a book about the Appalachian Trail that was given to me by the library. Every time we would leave the house, it would end up on my bed. It was in the bookcase. Okay. It's in the bookcase across, 3 feet from the bed. Somehow, some way, this book would end up on my bed. Even if it was behind other books, it would end up on my bed. And I told Ron, I said, it must have something to do with my family, because my family lives on the Appalachian. And so it's like, it has to have something to do with them. And so I acted like I read the book so that they would leave me alone. I guess I do need to read it someday. It's jumped up on our bed in a while. Of course, now I'm going to expect it to because of somebody's going to find out that I really didn't read it. But I mean, it looked like a really good book, but the library gave it to me. If you're going to give us, I'm sorry, I'm taking them. I try to read all of them, but it wasn't paranormal. And right now, if I'm reading it, it's paranormal to keep up with what I'm doing on the show. So,
well, then you need to get my book, one of my books.
Yes, I do. I need to get something, but gotta get to the time. Out of all, just so you know, I am throughout this. I work for CenturyLink, so I don't get the time off. I'm an essential employee. So while everybody else is complaining about, not working, I'm working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So, but that's okay. I'm not complaining at all. There's enough things to complain about. That's not one. But yeah, I wish I had time to read some of your books before I had you on, because knowing that I've had you on before and everything else, I feel so guilty not reading one of them. But I know that I read a lot of the reviews on Amazon, and they were really good reviews. So your books are being reviewed by the people who read them, and they love them.
Right.
So that's a big deal right there. So you guys need to check out his author page. Do not look up just Eric T. Perry. Please don't. Take the link that I put in the thing, because what came up was not good. So just be aware. But look up his author page and check it out, and you'll see all of his books there. And you said there's 5 right now, or is there 6?
Yeah, there's actually 7.
7. That's what I thought. I thought I counted 7, but it's like, after you told me I was wrong about the 1, I was questioning how many I really counted. But yeah, like I said, I read all these reviews and I was just really impressed with them. And so apparently you're doing something right.
Well, I have one of the best editors in the world that's on my book, and she's very meticulous when she goes through my book. So she really does a lot when it comes to it.
Well, you should thank her with a nice dinner when all this is over, and or barbecue for her. So you can tell her I said that. You're going to do something special for her for being so good.
I actually have the author of Paranormal Presence and The Haunting of the Old Knox Mansion, Shelley with me, sitting in the room with me at this time.
Oh, I figured you did. So hopefully, when some of this is over, I can schedule her to be on the show so she can talk about her books, because I'm really looking forward to that. And right now, I'm just not booking just in case somebody gets sick.
I hear
just planning ahead.
Right. The books, like I was saying, her books, Paranormal Presence and the Old Knox Mansion books. She just released the Old Knox Mansion, and like I told you, it's a virtual tour of through this mansion that she's given you, just like I do in my books. So with my books, like The Haunting of High Rock and The Haunting of Ransom Oak Gore and Bigfoot Myth and Legends, you're taking a tour, a history tour, a virtual history tour of these places with us. So you actually feel like you're actually there with us during that time.
Yeah, I saw that on your LinkedIn. I think we've been friends on Facebook a long time, but we've been on LinkedIn pretty much ever since, way back when, it seems like. And I know recently, in the last couple months, you've gotten to the point to where you're posting something every day, the paranormal question of the day.
Yeah, that's my wonderful girlfriend Shelley. She got me into this app that was on the phone, and I could make those kind of like things up, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun to see if it'll work with paranormal questions." And when we did it, it was I said, "Okay, I'm going to try it." And when I did it, I went on to Reddit, and I posted there for the first time, and I could not believe the response I was getting on Reddit. And then I posted them on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, all over the place. I've become like a social guru, pretty much, when it comes to paranormal questions of the day. People come to me and ask me questions. So when people say, who is the originator of the paranormal question, a lot of people look at me as the originator.
Well, take credit. If they're going to give it to you, just shake your head and go, if you think so. You don't know if there was somebody else before you. But right now, we're seeing it, and it's bringing up some discussion. I'm seeing people.
I'm going to be in a magazine for it this June or July. I'm going to be in a magazine called Squatch GQ for paranormal questions of the day.
Well, that's good. It's paying off. But I at least see some interaction on your LinkedIn stuff where a lot of people don't have hardly any interaction whatsoever on there. So apparently it's working. Because I know I don't see everything on Facebook, and I see nothing on Twitter. So
Right. If you're looking for me on Twitter, everybody, if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's called Paranormal Questions. You'll find me there. If you're looking for me on Instagram, you'll find it at Haunted in New England, or even a non-paranormal page called Shogun Warriors. And then you can find me on all the other things, Flipboard, Pinterest. You can find me all over the place.
Are you on MeWe too?
No, I have not. I haven't even gone to MeWe yet. I've hit the major platforms, because the major platforms, like with Reddit, it's the front page of the internet. if you want to get noticed and heard, you go to Reddit, and Reddit is just incredible. I get up 10 messages from people talking about Bigfoot, or they've seen the dog man, or they've come across the lizard man or the goat man. I get tons of people saying they've encountered these things.
I can see that. What I like MeWe for is that there's no advertising. There's no, they're not selling my information. I'm not getting bombarded with political ads.
Right.
To me, that's important. And knowing that makes it a lot easier. I haven't been in there in a while because I've been trying to focus on my work, not social. That's the one thing I don't want to focus on it. But like I said, I like that. Minds is another one that is pretty good. And a lot of times I've heard some people get to the point to where they get paid for their stuff.
Right.
Are you on Patreon at all?
No. It's like when I started with like Flipboard and all that, I wasn't sure how I was going to do. But then I started getting numbers up in Flipboard, and I started getting a lot of numbers up in Instagram because they're now connected with Facebook. So the numbers from Facebook and Instagram are combining. So it's like, okay, this is good. So, all right, I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a good thing. I think with social platforms and getting out there and getting talked about, like with me getting talked about where Bigfoot, or getting talked about paranormal stuff, or my books, it's something different. LinkedIn has opened up a lot of different doors for me when it comes to talking. I've talked to producers, I've talked to inventors, I've talked to all kinds of different people. I've talked to psychics, I've talked to clairvoyants, I've talked to skeptics, different things. I've talked to hunters. I've even talked to police and fire people that have talked to me about activities that are going on.
Okay, at this point, we got to take our last break. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. You got just a few minutes to get your last questions asked before we go silent for the night. So we'll be back in a couple minutes.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 45 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore, and I hope everybody's having a great night, and that that you're enjoying Eric Perry. I'm sorry, I'm not 100% with it tonight. My breathing is struggling a little bit, but other than that, I want you guys to have a good time and not stress out. So, are you back, Eric?
Yes.
Okay. So where can people find you? You already talked about that they can find you on Reddit and Instagram and all these other places. And we talked about your books. And you're going to be on Paranormal 911 in May?
In May.
Do you know when in May?
I believe it's the 9th. It's a Saturday night.
Okay. And that's subject to change as well. Because we know how things go. So you guys check that out. If somebody wanted to find you, what's the easiest way to find you? Since we gave them 50 ways, which one's the easiest?
You can find me on Facebook. It's much the easiest way you can find me. Just look up Eric Perry, and you can send me messages through there. If you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me at hauntedinnewengland@gmail.com. You can definitely get through there to me, and I do answer all my messages.
And your website is hauntedinnewengland.com, correct?
Correct.
And it is a very good website. You guys should check it out. And because I thought it was really good. And check it out, his author page as well on Amazon. Is there any other place that you can get your books besides Amazon?
Yeah, I'm proud to announce that Walmart is now carrying The Haunting of Ransom O'Gore. You can find it there. Barnes & Noble, BAM, Books A Million. You can get it there. In Bennington, Vermont, you can get it at the Bennington bookstore. They're actually carrying 4 of my titles right now in the bookstore. And every time Ransom O'Gore comes in, it is off the shelf.
Wow, that's amazing. Have you had any book signings?
No, I was actually scheduled for one in May, Agricultural 2000 this year, but due to the virus, we can't be there.
Yeah, I know that it has changed a lot of people's plans.
Right.
I know that some things heck, if it's going to move the Kentucky Derby, it's a big deal.
Right. All right.
So, because that's Ron's favorite day of the year, Kentucky Derby Day. So, I wonder, I think about it. It's like how many events have been canceled, and just in Kansas City alone, I saw the numbers. Because the basketball games, the NCAA tournament is here, and so we lost all that and all this other stuff. But we all know that every city lost something. Nobody's been untouched. And but I want people to know, if you're listening, I'm available every day, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time. If you want to talk, if you want to text, whatever, I'll take the time to visit with you if it's going to make you feel better, just to have some social interaction. And Eric is great at interacting with you on any of his forums. So just know that he's there as well. So you don't have to feel like you're alone, because you're not. We're all together. The whole thing is we're all in this together.
Right.
So,
what is? I'm going to say this to everybody. Everybody's locked in a house right now. We're under quarantine. What would really make it really good is if you read a book. Read, because us authors that are putting out these books for you guys are there for reading while you're home. Catch up on some reading. Do some reading, and books by like me or Shelley or anybody else that's out there that I know that write books. These books that we write are there for you to read and give you some insight on us and on different topics, from everything from ghosts to Bigfoot to how to build an engine, stuff like that. Just read. It's a good time to sit down and just read.
It's just amazing when you think about all the stuff that, we've got to keep us busy these days. If this had happened in the 80s with the libraries being closed and everything else, I don't know how we would have survived without, there's no way we could have done online school because it didn't exist,
Right. And I wouldn't
have
written any books in the 80s because I really wasn't into books at that time. I was more into hair metal and having a good time.
So you'd have been listening to Def Leppard and Bon Jovi. Not that I consider Bon Jovi to be hair metal.
I actually grew up with Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends happened to be Kevin DuBrow of Quiet Riot.
Well, Ron has a story about Motley Crue because he was in the service with a good friend of theirs and told a story about how they got their name. And it was from what was it, Tommy Lee's dad, Ron?
Yep. And
he just said, what a motley looking crew this is. And they all looked at each other, and that was how they got their name. And it was, but like I said, he was in the military with this guy. And so he heard about them, and Ron's real big into heavy metal. And he does like some of the hair bands and all that, but he doesn't have a choice because I make him listen to Def Leppard until his ears fall off. But that's
really has a thing for Bret Michaels of Poison.
Well, he is definitely interesting.
He's
definitely
what I can
say.
Candy, pretty much.
Just to each his own. Mine back in the 80s, I was still fawning over John Cusack. Mm-hmm. So not really into music, but it is what it is. We all had our own.
I met Tommy Lee and Heather Locklear in Lynn, Massachusetts, at the Manning Bowl. Motley Crue was there, Y&T, Accept, and Helix were all playing, and I got to do security for it. And I got to meet everybody.
Yeah, it's funny when you listen to Accept people. It brings memories of AC/DC, and it's like, no, it's not.
No, because when I listened to Accept, it's a funny story. My mom wouldn't let me go to the record store, and I told her I wanted Accept's Balls to the Wall album.
Yeah.
And she goes, okay, I'll go and get it. So she goes to the record store and goes to the guy behind the counter. Guy was a smart mouth. She goes, excuse me, do you have Accept to the Balls to the Wall? And the guy turns and goes, I can put them on the wall if you want. No, and then she came home. She came home and said, you can go buy your own damn albums now.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
God rest my mother's soul. That was the funniest thing I ever remember.
Well, it doesn't shock me because of the fact that there was a lot of things that happened back in those days that would have embarrassed our mothers when they went into places. Believe me, I know. Wendy asks from Mystic Moon Cafe Radio.
Yep.
She asks, are your books fiction or more technical?
They are more realism. They are based on real encounter. My books, The Haunting of Ransom Gore, is an account of everything that happened to us. So it's nonfiction, but it's got realism to it.
Okay. Well, let's see. Only got a couple minutes left. So what is one thing you want everybody to remember about Eric Perry?
Well, I'm writing these books, so I'm leaving a legacy for my son, Logan. I want to leave him a legacy. So when I go, he knows who his father was. And he realizes that, Daddy was an important person to a lot of people. That's what I want to do.
That you made a difference. That
Yes.
That is something that we can't do we can do it in a lot of ways, and this is going to be yours.
Yes. Yes. And like I said earlier, get out there, read, get the books like The Haunting of Ransom Gore, The Haunting of High Rock, Bigfoot, Myth of Legend, or even get Shelley Brianza's book, Paranormal Presence, or the Old Knox Mansion. Get those books. Those books will change everything that you look at in the paranormal differently.
Well, you know what? Every book that's written about the paranormal should make you think about it and either change your mind or enforce your opinion.
Right.
So,
but when it came to Ransom Gore, I've had tons of people that have read it and said it is one of the best books they have read. I did have one person who said it was hard to follow on Kindle, but that's Kindle. You're not reading the paperback. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But I've had the Bennington Fire Department reading. They love the book. People in Bennington who have read the book have told me, oh my God, they couldn't put it down. So it's a good book.
I'll tell you, I can't read anything on Kindle. I mean, it's amazing I can do my work, reading emails and all that other stuff, but it's meant for that. When it comes to reading a book, I actually have to have the book in my hand.
Yep, same here.
It's just me, and almost every one of my books is signed by the author. And I'm very proud of that. And since the last time I talked to you, I became an author too. It's just a short story, but I'm an author too. But it was interesting. It was interesting, and then found out after it was printed that it's got typos in it. And so I'm going to have to fix that. I see, in my case, I wrote the story right after I got out of the hospital with my collapsed lung. So, and I was in a hurry. So, did it, well, now I got to fix it. But everybody, I want y'all to know that I enjoyed being on here tonight with you guys. I loved having Eric on again. My next guest is going to be Dave Spinks, and he was supposed to be on a while ago, but he got really busy, and I got him rescheduled for next Monday. So I hope you guys will be here to listen to Dave Spinks and about his books. He's got some cryptozoology books as well as some paranormal books, and it's going to be a very interesting show. Eric, thank you so much for coming on and telling me about Shelley. I can't wait to meet her and have her on. And I hope everything goes your way going forward.
I do too. And I look forward to talking with everybody out there. Anybody that wants to talk, find me on Facebook, or you can find me on LinkedIn like Denise did.
Well, like I said, we've been friends on Facebook for how long? I can't even remember how long at this point.
I think over 10 years now.
Could be. And then LinkedIn, probably maybe just as long, because I know I've been sending you a happy anniversary on your jewelry and all the other stuff that you've done. Do you still make jewelry?
Right now, I'm not. Right now because I'm too busy with the book stuff and investigations and stuff. It's like even when I go out in public now, sometimes I'll get stopped and say, hey, I saw you on Haunted Hospital. And people stop and talk to me about my ghost story and stuff like that.
Doesn't that shock you, though, when people say that they saw you on TV?
Oh, yeah.
Because this still gets to me.
Well, it's kind of funny because it's not only there. I was in North Adams at a Walmart, and a person came up to me and go, "Are you Eric Perry from Haunted in New England? I saw your video on Amazon." I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And they take a picture with me and stuff like that. It's really cool.
I've had that happen a few times, and I'm like, really? That's 5 years ago. How do you remember that? You know? But of course, it's on all the time. Ghost Adventures replays all the time. But thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see everybody. Blah, 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 blah. I tripped over my tongue. Hopefully I'll see everybody back here Monday night at 7 p.m. Central here on WBHM-DB.com, and that you guys will listen to Kat's show on Wednesday when she has on Robin Terry of Ashmore Estates and the Haunted Art Theater. So you guys have a great night, and I'll see you then.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.